Okay, hi for everyone that is watching. We are going to be doing a little class today about social media communication in uncertain times. So I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see the actual presentation here. And my name is Brooke Anderson. I work with Converge Local, which is a full service marketing agency, and we have our Stanton office in that does the marketing side of things. And then we have a sign shop in Waynesboro, Virginia, where we do signs and banners and vehicle wraps and all sorts of good things. So you can see here a few of the logos of companies that we work with and a list of our services. And we do really work hard to do things to give back to the community. So these webinars are one way of doing that. And so we're really grateful for the Greater Augusta Regional Chamber of Commerce for inviting us to participate in this. So right now, we are facing the new world of social media. And what does that mean? So in the webinar, we're going to go over 4 rules, one important formula, and several different tactics. So let's start with rule number 1. So the most important thing to do right now while we're in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of your marketing and your social media marketing is do not disappear from social media. In a time like this, when there's so much uncertainty with businesses, when some businesses are closed altogether, you may think, oh, I don't need to have a strong or any social media presence. And that's actually not true. So your social media presence right now has a lot of important purposes that you need to be addressing consistently. So social media right now has turned into a place for important announcements that are more important than ever. So social media can serve that purpose. You're also going to be driving people towards online sales or virtual tours or letting them know about how you've changed your service or product offerings. If you're not doing any service or product offerings right now, that's okay. You still need to have a consistent presence on social media for a few of these other reasons. You're going to be reassuring and staying connected with your clients and customers. So as business owners or business leaders or nonprofit leaders, you are a staple in the community and you are an important part of helping people feel reassured. And certainly there's important messaging that you want to be able to convey to your audience throughout this COVID-19 situation. So you want to be on social media so you can continue to do that. You're also going to be cross-marketing for other businesses. People are really paying attention right now to what businesses are doing to not only help their clients and their customers, but what are they doing to support the community as a whole, to support the business community as a whole. One of the really inspiring things that we've been seeing is businesses really digging in to help one another. So right now, it's not about competition. It's about support and support systems and helping one another. So it is very impactful if you can go onto social media and share what other businesses are doing. So as much cross-marketing as you can do, the better. You're helping the community and you are showing, your compassion during this really challenging time. And this leads to this point, which is to demonstrate leadership. Again, you are someone that a lot of people are going to recognize within the community. And so it's important that you have a consistent presence on your social media, that you maintain that presence in part so you can demonstrate that leadership. Okay, so rule number 2. One of the biggest questions I get is, oh my gosh, what do I post on social media? I want to be on there. I want to be doing it consistently, but what in the world do I post? And especially, what in the world do I post during the COVID-19 pandemic? So our second rule is don't stress about content, because we are going to go over a formula that's going to help you organize and think through what you should be posting. This comes from what's called modes of persuasion. And it's something that was developed by Aristotle way back when, and it's also been proven as a psychological principle. These modes of persuasion are the components that we need to feel safe and secure and like we can trust an individual, a business, a business leader, a government leader, who, whatever the case may be. This is the formula that helps us feel safe, feel secure, and have trust. And these are the modes of persuasion. So the first one's ethos, and that's just a fancy Latin word that means credibility or character. The second is logos, and that means logic or reason. And the third component, which is arguably the most important component and the one that businesses most often leave out, is pathos, which is emotion or connection. So from a business perspective, usually it plays out like this. Businesses are really, really comfortable telling you what they do and how they do it. So they really stay in the lane of logic and credibility. But what they don't always do, and they aren't always comfortable with, is pathos, which is that emotion or connection. And without all three of these components, we're not hitting this trifecta of what makes people feel comfortable with us, what makes people want to do business with us, what makes people trust us. So credibility, logic, and emotion and connection. When you are thinking through posting your social media content, you are going to be thinking through, what can I post that supports credibility? What can I post that supports logic? And what can I post that supports emotion or connection? This can be accomplished by doing individual posts that hit on each of these topics. So you might have a straight credibility post, and we'll talk about what that looks like in a little bit, a straight logic post, a straight emotional connection post, or you can have posts that combine all three elements. So when you're evaluating your social media, look for, am I hitting on credibility, logic, and emotion and connection? You're going to then combine that with really, really knowing your audience. And when you do those modes of persuasion plus really knowing your audience, you're hitting on the marketing foundation that big heavy hitter marketing companies are using. We're talking the Coca-Colas of the world, the Facebooks of the world, the Amazons of the world, the Subarus of the world. This is what people are using. When I worked for Coca-Cola headquarters in Atlanta, these were the principles that were being used. So as a small business or any size business, you can use it too. So let's dig a little bit into this. So there are questions that people are asking themselves when they are evaluating each of these components. So for credibility or character, there are 5 main subcomponents, and we're going to go over a few of these. So goodwill. There, again, are questions people are asking themselves, and a lot of this happens subconsciously, but you can see here the list of questions that people are asking themselves. And I have highlighted 2 of these because these are really important in times like this, especially, and ones that are a good place to start when you're focusing on crafting your social media posting. So the questions: what is your motivation or intention? And do you understand my challenges, my difficulties, and my frustrations? So especially in a time like this, people want to know, what is your motivation towards me? Are you extending goodwill, or is there some other ulterior motive here? And do you understand the challenges I'm facing? And the thing is, right now, we are all experiencing this pandemic. So there are commonalities that we're all experiencing. The example I give here is from Dr. Sanjay Gupta, who is one of the people that you've seen all over the news. And he did a post, which is a good example of a goodwill post, which is simply, hey, as a surgeon, this is how I've been taught to wash my hands, okay? The fact that he's a surgeon lends credibility. You can see the graphic here is very logical. It lays out the steps. It's a logical post because we're all trying to figure out, hand washing and all of that stuff. And everybody wants to know what's the best way to do it. Who better to learn from than a surgeon who has to have a sterile field for operating? And he's understanding our challenges and frustrations of knowing exactly how to do it. So he's really done a good job here of an ethos post that fosters goodwill. Okay, trustworthiness. So all of these are highlighted in bold. And when you think of the modes of persuasion, think of the press conferences that we've been seeing every day, and think about the comments that people are saying, either in admiring the press conference and how it's laid out, or criticizing it. And if you look at how people are doing that, you'll recognize, oh, what people are having issues with are the different modes of persuasion. They're saying this. They're saying the speaker is very credible, or the speaker isn't very credible. Essentially, they're saying what they're saying is logical, or it isn't logical. They're saying there's not enough empathy shown, or they're praising the amount of empathy somebody is showing. So people's minds, you can see in the comments about these press conferences, how people's minds are directed into these categories of persuasion. So in terms of the credibility and trustworthiness, they're going to be evaluating things like, is your information accurate? So now is the time to be very, very careful if you're going to post something about the COVID-19 pandemic, to make sure that it is accurate. Do you avoid absolutes? Do your words and actions benefit me? Do you respect me? And do you admit when you don't know something? And this is one of the most important ones. Do you admit when you don't know something? So as businesses and as business leaders, we like to have the answers, but it's okay, especially in a time like this, to say, you know what, I don't know the answer. It's something we're working on. We will let everybody know as soon as we have it figured out. People will respect you more for doing that. Okay, let's move on to logos, which is logic. So here are the questions they're asking, and two important ones during this uncertain time is, do your reasons make sense? And are your facts credible and verifiable? So this is an example that I pulled from Augusta Health, who is doing a really great job right now. And this is highlighting their care call center line. And so you can see that the credibility is there because we have these nurses and they're in their uniforms, which lends itself to credibility. They're social distancing, and they're talking about urging people to stay home, that it's the most important way to help ensure that we have the beds and the ventilators and the mask and the tests and everything that people are needing. And so this is a really good example of a logic post. Okay, let's talk about pathos. So pathos, remember, this is the thing that most people leave out, but it's arguably the most important component. So don't leave pathos on the table. This is that emotion or connection. And the biggest thing that people are going to be asking is, are you authentic? So this is not the time to try to become somebody else. This is the time to own who you are as a business, and your emotion and connection post should represent that. This is a really good one from James Madison University. It's very simple. It's the rock that says 2020 strong, and a simple message of, we're all in this together, Dukes. This is very authentic to the JMU brand, and you want to do posts that are very authentic to your brand. Now, one thing I do want to mention here is that a note about contextual humor. Normally in this presentation, this is the part where I point out that humor is also an emotion, and it's a way of connecting with people. So in the COVID-19 pandemic, things are a little different. So you want to be really, really careful with how you use quote unquote humor. A good example of using some sort of like doing some sort of message that isn't so heavy is this one by the Wildlife Center of Virginia, where they're talking about proper social distancing, and they're relating it back to how many animals it would take to achieve proper social distancing. This is a light, bright post in a very serious time that is appropriate. So this is a good example. So be really, really careful in terms of humor at a time like this. All right. So we talked about the modes of persuasion, and then I said, plus knowing your audience. So you would be surprised how many businesses don't have a great grip on who exactly their audience is. And even if you think you do, there are still some important questions to dive into. And here they are. So, number one is, what does your audience need? So, we went over some of the things they're going to need. They're going to need those important updates. They're going to need those reassuring posts. They're going to need you to demonstrate, be present consistently to demonstrate leadership. The second thing is, where is your target audience? So this comes down to, where are you going to spend your time in terms of social media? So typically for most people right now, that is going to be Facebook. That typically makes the most sense. But if for whatever reason your target audience hangs out a lot on Instagram, you want to make sure that you're putting these things on Instagram, on YouTube, whatever the case may be. And remember, part of traditional marketing isn't just marketing to who is coming through the door right now. Part of it is marketing to who your ideal clients are. So just keep that in mind as you're figuring out who your target audience is right now. What aligns best with your brand and your industry? Like I said, this is not the time to try to become a business that you aren't. So really consider your messaging and what is most authentic to your brand or your industry. We work with some brands that they are more friendly and conversational in tone, and that's what their customers connect with. We work with some who maybe provide more serious services and products, and so they have a more professional slant. Figure out what it is for you and make sure you're conveying that. And then what type of content resonates best with your audience? And you'll be able to see this through analytics of your social media posting. You'll be able to see it with what people engage with the most, what they're liking, how many comments you're getting, and things like that. So just keep an eye out when you're working through the COVID-19 pandemic posting. Keep a lookout for what seems to be resonating the most. And remember, it's so important to remember that right now, we are all in uncharted territory, okay? So not even people that work in marketing, day in and day out, like we do at Converge, we don't have all the answers to that. International marketing companies don't have all the answers to that. So just keep an eye out for what seems to be resonating best for your particular audience. We are literally on this together, trying to figure out some of these key things when it comes to social media during this time. And remember, during this time, your audience may have changed, and it may have changed a little, or it may have changed drastically. So for the restaurant industry, for instance, I use this example of Shenandoah Pizza and Tap House in Stanton. So they are offering these pizza kits where you can get all of the individual ingredients to then take home and make a pizza. And so some of their audience right now is parents. That's some of who their messaging is going towards. Now, in a normal circumstance, parents might not be at the top of their list, but they've had to change their offerings, and therefore their audience has changed a bit. And more than likely, your audience may have changed a bit if you've had to pivot that way as well. All right, so let's talk about best practices for posting in uncertain times, and specifically for the COVID-19 pandemic. And some of this goes back to traditional crisis communication theory. And let's dive into the first one. So the first thing is, use emotional intelligence. And that just means being able to connect the appropriate emotion with the situation. And we talked about, being careful with humor and things like that. The other thing I want to focus on is, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. There are common emotions that we're all sharing right now. Uncertainty, fear even, feeling isolated could be one. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable and say, yeah, this is an uncertain time. We can't wait to get back with you during normal times. This isolation is really hard. Don't be afraid to open up and be vulnerable in an emotionally intelligent way, in something that's appropriate for the situation. And then the big thing is, don't be afraid to connect and validate based on common feelings. So one of the things everybody likes, and one of the things that helps people feel safe and fosters trust, is when you can validate their feelings. We know that you're feeling isolated right now. We know that it's hard. We know that it's hard for parents to be home, homeschooling their children. And, we get that. And here's what we're doing to try to help support that. Be very clear with your call to action. So for your social media posting, there's going to be something you want people to do. So whether that's participate in your curbside service, whether that's to visit your website to learn more, whatever the case may be, you want to be clear with your call to action. And when you are posting on social media, that could be in the copy portion of your post. If you are boosting a post or you are doing a traditional Facebook ad, you're going to have an option of choosing a call to action button. And so there will be a button that you can click. You can choose it to say something like book now, call now, learn more, whatever the case may be. And it will link to a specific place. So when they click that button, they go and they, get the next step in whatever the call to action is. So don't forget to put those in, whether in the copy of your traditional Facebook post, in a boosted post, or in a traditional Facebook ad. The other thing is, since we are so isolated, it's more important than ever for people to actually see you. So don't make all of your posts static images. Whip out your cell phone. Cell phones these days are a great way of doing quick videos for social media. Whip out your cell phone and film a message and post it. Don't let all your posts be static images. The things you want to remember is to film horizontally, okay? Do not film vertically. And one of the reasons for this is that because when you post your video, you're going to want to turn the captions on. So a lot of people scroll through social media without the sound on or on their phone, or there's someplace where they can't have the sound on at the particular moment. So you want to turn the captions on. This increases engagement, something you must do. So film horizontally, turn your captions on when you're posting it. You film horizontally because the captions come down here. If you film vertically, it's going to look really weird because there are going to be black bars beside you. So film horizontally. So this is just an example of what your post will look like when you're doing filming horizontally. So this is what I'm talking about. There's where your images, there's where your captions are going to be. And you can see examples of the type of copy that we put with this post. And I do want to mention that we are doing a podcast. This is an example called #ValleyStrong, where we're interviewing business and community leaders to talk about COVID-19 response, leadership under pressure, and a little bit of everything in between. So if you know a business or community leader, or if you yourself would like to be interviewed, please let me know. You can email me at valleystrong@weareconverge.io, and we will do our best to connect with you and get you on the air. And just as a way to give back to the community, we are also boosting those posts on your behalf for 4 days. So it's a way to get some exposure, get the word out about the things that you are doing in the community with your business or your organization. Okay, so other best practices. You want to respond quickly to inquiries and complaints. This is not a time to put the brake pedal on customer service as people have been experiencing it traditionally. So people will still judge you if you don't respond quickly to their inquiries and complaints. So please continue to do that on a consistent and fast basis. You want to post responsibly. So what we want to do during this time is balance relevancy and frequency. So don't just be posting to post. Your post needs to be hitting on the credibility, the logic, the emotional connection, possibly all three. It needs to be, something that's relevant and important. So just take a look at what you're posting and just make sure that it's adding some sort of value, hitting on those modes of persuasion. And then you're going to want to choose quality posting over quantity. So this right now can mean that you're posting 3 things a week. And if you feel like one week, one of those isn't as strong, okay, post 2 things a week. The point is, don't disappear from social media. Use your modes of persuasion and use those current goals that social media has during this time. I can guarantee you can find another business to cross market during this time to fill a gap, in getting those 3 posts in if you need to. So balance relevancy and frequency. Choose quality over quantity at this time. Aim for about 3 posts a week. Consider how you can add value. So we mentioned parents that have never homeschooled before trying to homeschool their children right now. So if your business, for example, could offer any sort of resources for those parents, doing a post that offers those types of resources could be an option. Whatever it is your business could do to add some sort of value. If you're a restaurant, maybe a lot of people are cooking at home, and if you're not offering curbside service or something of the sort, maybe this is a time where you post some family-friendly recipes, something that adds value for people. And remember to thank your customers and your clients, businesses that are doing curbside service or whatever the case may be. Make sure you post a message of thanks if the community is continuing to support you in some way. And again, cross market for other businesses. This is not a time of competition. This is a time of support and just sharing, whether they're in your industry or not, just sharing what people are doing around the community is so beneficial right now. It's something we all need. And pay attention to what your audience responds to. So this is one way that you're going to gauge the effectiveness of what you're posting at this time. And again, nobody has like a crystal ball and knows exactly for sure. None of us have been in this situation, marketing professionals included. So you're going to just be paying attention and you'll be able to see, oh, people liked this post more, they had more comments, or whatever the case may be. So just keep paying attention to that and you'll get a feel for what's connecting with your audience and be able to move through this a little easier as you go along. So one of the examples I have here is for Chicano Boy Taco. And when they're talking about, here's a value add, like you can get 15% off through March. And they put together a simple but kind of clever little post there. It doesn't skew too far into inappropriate humor or anything like that, and it's very, very on brand for them because they are a very friendly, engaging, don't take themselves too seriously brand. So that's a good example. All right. So this is also a great time as you're posting consistently on social media to grow your audience. So one of the really, really grassroots things that you can do to organically grow your audience is when people are liking your post, you can click within that. You see where the cursor is there, and you will see a little box that says invite and it's highlighted. If you click that, it will send an invitation to that person that says Converge Local has invited you to like their page. And a lot of times people will take you up on that offer. It's a great grassroots way to grow your organic audience. And the sooner that you can do this, like if they like your post, the sooner that you can invite them to like your page, the better. But go through your post and invite people to like your page. All right, rule number 3. If you can afford it, consider using ads, okay? So, one of the big things that we're hearing right now is not the time to press pause on things like Facebook ads, Google ads, things like that. Those things still have a place within this current situation. And again, we preface this by saying if you can afford it. So if you can't afford it, consider doing that. Right now, a lot of people aren't, like I said, and so the arena is less congested than it normally is. So your ads have more of an ability to rise to the top and be remembered by folks. You're not trying to break through so much noise like you normally are. And so there's some really interesting precedent that has been set that supports this. So I just wanted to go over a few of these. So in the 1920s, Post was the category leader in the ready-to-eat cereal category. And during the Great Depression, Post cut back significantly in advertising, and its rival Kellogg actually doubled its advertising spend during the Great Depression. And they invested heavily in radio and introducing a new cereal called Rice Krispies, featuring Snap, Crackle, and Pop. Kellogg's profits grew by 30%, and the company became the category leader, a position it has maintained for decades. So this is an example of even during the Great Depression, they continued their marketing campaign. They actually captured the market. So this is an interesting one. There was a 17-month recession in 1973 to 1975, and it was triggered by the energy crisis. And so in late 1973, the US government issued its first miles per gallon report, in which Toyota Corolla was second to Honda Civic in fuel efficiency. So since Toyota was actually experiencing some strong sales, when the economic downturn hit, the temptation was to drop their ad budget, which they resisted. So they didn't drop their ad budget. And by adhering to its long-term strategy, Toyota surpassed Volkswagen as the top imported car maker in the US by 1976. And so they were able to capture the market in a challenging time. And then Amazon. Amazon sales actually grew by 28% in 2019 during the Great Recession. The tech company continued to innovate with new products during the slumping economy, most notably with new Kindle products, which helped to grow their market share. So in a first, on Christmas Day 2019, Amazon customers bought more ebooks than printed books. And as a result, in the minds of consumers, Amazon became an innovative company by introducing a lower cost alternative to cash-strapped consumers. So this is a great example of how they invented a new product. And for some of you, that might be you are introducing a new service offering. And it actually worked extremely well. They were able to capture market share and grow by 28% by offering this. And one of the things we say is, necessity is the mother of invention. And I've seen so many inspiring stories of people that are pivoting their business. They're doing things they've never done before. Some of it is trial and error, but a lot of it is working. And some of these things are even going to keep beyond this COVID-19 pandemic. So consider that. So one of the things that I want to also talk to you about, because we are all in this together and we're all, figuring this out, is there's a way that you can view what others are doing during this time. And it has to do with Facebook page transparency. So if you go to a Facebook page, on the right-hand column, there is going to be a section that says Facebook page transparency. And what you're going to do is you're going to click on that See More button. And when you do that, you're going to come to a screen that looks like this, and you're going to click on Go to Ad Library. And when you go to the ad library, you're going to see a list of ads. If that company is running ads, you are going to see the ads that they are running. So this is a great way to view what other people are doing, get some ideas, and just learn more, especially in normal times, learn more about your competition. Like I said, right now it's a time of support versus competition, but this is a great way to get some insight into what other people are doing with their Facebook ads. So if you are going to be diving into doing Facebook ads, the other important thing that I want you to do is I want you to make sure that you are testing your ads. So within your business manager account, which is the account that you have to do traditional Facebook ads. And remember, these aren't boosted posts, which you can do from your page. These are the traditional Facebook ads in your business manager account. One of the things you're going to do is you're going to test two different ads. So an easy way to do this is you're going to either test two different sets of copy or two different visuals, whether that be a photo or a video. In this instance, we had the same video, but we tested two different copies, okay? And so for ad one, we noticed that the cost per lead to run this ad, so the cost per person that was responding, it was $7.42. In the second ad, the cost per leads were $3.68. So from our client's perspective, had we not tested, then we would have not been as good of stewards with their ad spend as we could have been. So you want to be good stewards of your ad spend, and therefore you want to test things. So remember that. The other thing that you want to be doing if you are going to be doing Facebook ads right now is you want to be utilizing something called the Facebook Pixel. So if you've ever gone to, let's say, Amazon and you've been looking at a pair of shoes and then you log into Facebook, later that evening, and there's a Facebook ad for those same shoes, one of the ways that they're accomplishing this is through the Facebook Pixel, but it's not just for them, it's for everybody. And the Facebook Pixel is simply a bit of code that you install into your website. It's easy to do. And what happens is when people visit your website, they will then be retargeted by your Facebook ads. And the retargeting is something that you set up again within that business manager platform. So the Facebook Pixel is a super powerful tool that you want to incorporate into your Facebook ads at this moment. The other thing is that if you have an email list, which everybody should be working on having an email list. If you have an email list, you can upload that email list into Facebook and instruct Facebook to show your Facebook ads to the people on that email list. But then you can take it a step more, and you can ask Facebook to create what's called a lookalike audience. And Facebook will take your original email list, they will dissect the commonalities of the people on that list, and they will come up with a list of people that have those same qualities and characteristics to show your ads to. So you can expand your audience very easily, expand your audience to people who are your target very easily by uploading your email list into Facebook and creating a lookalike audience. So don't forget that if you're working on Facebook ads at this moment. So one of the other things I want to mention is how you're going to organize your posting. So a good thing that we do is we come up with an editorial calendar, which means we take a look at what are we going to be posting each week for our various clients, for ourselves, things like that. And then we look at that and we go, okay, am I seeing too many logic posts on here, or am I seeing too many credibility posts? Do I need to bring in some logic and emotional connection? And so we plan out our posts as best we can, and then we evaluate those to make sure that we are hitting consistently those three modes of persuasion and not leaving anything out. So that's something that I would recommend that you do as a way to organize yourself. It's also a good way that you can track which posts are getting the most engagement and seem to be connecting most with your audience. So you can pretty easily make an editorial calendar for yourself to organize your social media posting. The other thing that I want to mention, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, is email. So email marketing is also an extremely important part of your overall marketing process. So what we know is it takes 6 to 8 touches for people to really take action to do anything. So your overall marketing, you want to be touching people in a variety of arenas. So in social media, in email, so on and so forth. And right now, email is also an important way to be communicating with your audience during this uncertain time. So the first, some things to consider as you're planning out email marketing. One, do you have a list? And most often businesses tell me, well, we have a bunch of emails, but they're not consolidated into a list. Now's the time to consolidate those emails into a list. The emails that we suggest that you send, they're more like letters. So you're going to determine whose voice the emails are written in, because just like a letter, it's going to come from a particular person. Most commonly, we see these coming from, marketing directors, the founder of the company, maybe somebody in sales, whatever the case may be. But you're going to, like you would in the letter, be signing your first name. You can have your title and stuff underneath that if you want, but this is meant to be a more personal email, and it's what we call a nurturing email. So your email marketing is really for the long term. It's a way to keep people top of mind when they happen to need your product or service. People are going to be getting your emails at various times of need, and so somebody might be on your email list for a year getting your emails before they actually buy your product or service. So again, email marketing is the long game. And we're going to make these very personal. We're going to choose what style and tone connects most with the audience. Again, this goes back to what makes the most sense for your brand or your industry. And determine the frequency. So what we typically see is we don't recommend doing less than 2 emails per month for a traditional nurturing email campaign. That frequency pretty much holds true for now as well. If you do want to do more, that's okay too. Remember, you're choosing quality over quantity. Email is also going to be important for disseminating information. So some of your nurturing emails can be, information dissemination, and that's fine. How will you track success? So right now, because we're all trying to figure this out, if you're new to email marketing, you're just going to track success by the fact that you're doing it and you're doing it consistently. If you're more engaged in the process prior to the COVID-19, you're going to want to look at things like open rates, click-through rates, so that you can determine which topics and what styles are hitting home most with your audience. You can also use this link to run your emails through, and it will let you know if there are any spam issues. So that's a really good thing to do. You're going to figure out how to send them, and I'm going to tell you a free tool in a minute. And then you're going to include, like, what is your call to action? So that could be contacting you. That could be clicking on a link to your website to get more information. But remember, these emails, they're more personal. They're like a letter. They open up by telling a story is another important thing, but you can definitely have a call to action, something you want people to do after reading this email. And this is a really brief overview of email marketing. There are I actually just did another webinar through the Harrisonburg Chamber. And so if you're interested in this topic, learning more, you can possibly reach out to them, and I think that they would be willing to send that to you. And the free tool that you can utilize today is MailChimp. So if you are sending emails to 2,000 subscribers or less, then this tool is free for you. And it's very user-friendly. You can do what's called A/B testing with your email subject lines, which is testing which subject line works best. You can schedule your post. You can do a variety of things. And again, it's free as long as your list has 2,000 or fewer people on it. So check into MailChimp if you are interested in doing email marketing. So we are doing some things at Converge to try to help out, and I just wanted to reiterate what those are. So we are actually doing free signage for businesses, some social distance signage, and then some signage that outlines what sorts of services are open. In blue there, you'll see those are geared a lot towards restaurants or businesses are offering some sort of curbside pickup. We're also doing discounted Facebook, Instagram ads, Google ads, that sort of thing. So if you need help with some of that, we have some discounted packages. And again, we're doing our podcast, Valley Strong, which we are interviewing business and community leaders. And so if you know somebody or you would like to be on the show, please email me and let me know about that. You can email me at valleystrong@weareconverge.io. The other thing that we're doing, you can go to our Facebook page, Converge Local, is we're doing a fundraiser for Augusta Health. So we have Thank You Healthcare Heroes yard signs. And when you purchase one of those for $10, you'll get the sign, you'll get a decal. We are donating all of our net proceeds to the hospital. And we're also donating hand sanitizer on your behalf to them as well. So go to our Facebook page and check that out. You can also go to our Facebook page and find a new offering that we have, which is yard signs recognizing our seniors. So if you know a senior, or if you have a senior in your household and you want to recognize them, we have yard signs that are specific to different schools that you can find there as just an extra way to support those kids that aren't going to have a traditional graduation. Other resources that I'd like to highlight, because I think they've just been so incredibly helpful, is the Small Business Administration, the Stanton Creative Community Fund, the Greater Augusta Regional Chamber of Commerce, the City of Waynesboro, and the Stanton Downtown Development Association. These places all have resource pages of a variety of things, from financial support to personal support for hardships like finances, housing, food, things like that. So these are great resources that I've discovered along the way, so feel free to check those out. So that brings us to rule number 4. So we've done 3 rules, we went over the 1 formula, and we've done a lot of different tactics. So rule number 4 is the most important one. And if you don't remember anything else from this presentation, remember this. Rule number 4 is you're doing the best you can. Be kind to yourself. If you've watched this presentation and you're like, oh, I can't do all the different things, that's okay. Start where you can, do what you can, and be really, really kind to yourself. Again, we are all in this together. We're all trying to figure it out together. And this is a time where not only do we want to be supportive to other people, but we want to be nice to ourselves and appreciate that we are doing the best that we can. So I hope that this has provided some helpful information to you. I will certainly make myself available if you have any questions about this presentation or otherwise. So you can reach me at brooke@weareconverge.io. And this is my actual cell phone number. So you can reach me at 404-617-0448 as well. And feel free to call me, feel free to email me, feel free to, reach out to anybody on the Converge team. We're here to help, we're here to support. We thank you for joining us for this presentation, and we want you to stay safe and stay healthy and be well. Thank you so much.